You good?
Yeah, we're good.
Greenville City Council will come to order. Please call the roll.
Godwin.
Here.
Norris.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Whitaker.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Ely. Here.
If I get everyone to rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everyone. Council members, you were emailed out the minutes. They will stand approved as read unless there's addition or correction. Okay, they will stand approved as emailed out. Approval of the current financial report that was emailed out. I'll take a motion to accept or changes on that.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brown to accept the current financial report. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely. Yes.
Okay. Moving on, approval of the agenda. We do need to add a executive session at the end for ORC 121.22 for the consideration or appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely. Yes.
All right, moving on to public hearing part. Anyone would like to come to the podium?
Hi, I'm Nancy Slaughter. I'm here to talk to you about three different things. The first thing is there are raccoons living in the storm sewers downtown. And these raccoons have been out during daylight hours in the areas where there are bus stops. And I was hoping that the city would do something about this, as in order to trap them or get rid of them, you'd have to pull out the storm sewers potentially. Otherwise, you'd have a live trap somewhere downtown. So like I said, this is definitely a safety concern as the raccoons are out during the time when the kids are waiting for buses. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about was the vacant houses on Washington Avenue, specifically 222 Washington Avenue and 308 Washington Avenue. 222 Washington Avenue, my understanding, according to the police, is it is now bank owned. That house, since I came last and talked to the city council about those vacant houses, some people have dropped off dogs and left them in the house. The house is unlocked. There are open windows. And there's a garage that's open and stray cats are living in there. It's a real nuisance. And there's trash out in the driveway that I've been looking at for like a year. So I was hoping the city could do something about specifically vacant houses that people are not living in. It's vacant. The other house is 308 Washington Avenue, and this house has been vacant for several years now since I moved here. There's been no work done on the house since I've been here. The owners do come and mow the lawn periodically in the summertime, but there's a huge pile of bricks on the patio. The front of the house is falling down, and there's a lot of vermin living in the house and around the house. And also in the back, they keep piling up brush, and the brush is piled up against a wooden fence next to a shed to adjacent houses with those fences also. So my concern is that it's just becoming a safety issue primarily, and then there's a lot of vermin, a lot of rodents around it. At one point, my cameras picked up 4 raccoons at a time in the backyard. So they may be living in the sewer because my cameras do pick up it going into the sewer grates, but I see them in all kinds of vermin in the back of this one house. So I'm concerned about that. If the city could please do something about that. The last thing I'm here to talk to you about is the Greenville sidewalk work Phase 1. And I have 10 copies of these with pictures. I live on Washington Avenue, and I was part of sidewalk work Phase 1, which is, I think, still currently going on. I wanted to share with you my experience as a resident and what happened while this work has been going on. And I apologize that the pictures are so small. If you want an e-copy of this, I'd be happy to share it with anyone. The first picture, these pictures were taken of work done by America's Decorative Concrete, a contractor hired by the city of Greenville. This contractor did not give us any notice of work being done. I called and they would not give out a number of a supervisor for the work. The first picture is a picture of an excavator that they parked in front of my driveway and left for lunch. I had house guests at this time. My house guest and I were trapped in my house, unable to go anywhere while they went to lunch. At no time did they ask me about leaving or asked if they could leave the excavator in front of my driveway. The second picture is a picture of the sidewalks ripped out. You can see it leaves quite a deep hole. The sidewalks were removed just before Greenville designated trick-or-treating. The sidewalks were removed on Friday and Saturday, with Sunday being the trick-or-treat time. This left gaping holes on arguably the busiest pedestrian day of the year. Only a cone was placed by it with no barrier to protect people from falling in. The next picture, it rained that night and the next day, leaving inches of water and a huge muddy mess for our families to experience during trick-or-treating. That next picture is a picture of a 4-year-old girl falling into the sidewalk hole in her trick-or-treating outfit. We had about 130 trick-or-treaters, and the sidewalk removal was a huge safety issue. This poor little girl fell into that hole. She landed in mud and her candy spilled everywhere. What I would think is pretty much about the worst thing that could happen to a trick-or-treater unless somebody else is involved. The next picture is the contractor left numerous tree roots in the area that was being paved. I had to call the city several times to ask them to come and inspect because they were just going to pave right over them. They later said they removed them, but I actually just saw them burying these tree roots. If they had already compacted the area, the compaction was not done properly in the first place. It was still quite loose, and it was not recompacted after they removed tree roots or buried them again. When the contractor was shown a spongy spot that did not seem stable enough to pave, they jumped up and down in the area with it heaving up and down under them and said it was like that, soft, because of the tree roots. Weren't they supposed to remove the tree roots? I sank in the mud 8 inches deep in this area the day before. They did not recompact, and they hurried up and poured the concrete before the city inspector could come and look at the roots still in the area to be paved. This next picture is a picture of a pile of rock that they left in front of my driveway. The contractor was very disrespectful of residents and their property. One morning, I was shocked to see them all the way up next to my windows. When I went out to question them as to why they were up against my house, I was told it was because their generator would not start due to the cold temperatures, and they walked up and over my flower beds to plug their equipment in at my house. I told them that they should have knocked and asked for permission, and they should have used my stairs and walkway. The next couple of pictures are pictures of the tree roots that are sticking straight up out of the ground. Some of these pictures were taken today. There are still stumps and roots sticking up out of the ground. The city requested that residents remove the trees and tree stumps, yet this contractor did not complete this work. The roots will sprout and ruin the sidewalks very quickly. There's more tree roots. As you can see, there's one almost 4 inches across sticking straight up out of the ground. This is definitely a safety issue also. This is the next picture on page 6 now is how they left their truck at night. The door was one big wide door swung over and overhanging the sidewalk that wasn't being worked on. That pile of gravel underneath the truck is still there with the truck removed. That's the next picture. It's debris. Also, all their trucks leaked oil and fluids where they were parked. The last picture on that page is more debris that's left on the parking strip, gravel from the contractors, and that was an area, residence that side of the residence wasn't even being worked on. More pictures of debris on page 7. The first picture is a picture of where they started the concrete pour in the parking strip and then moved it to the sidewalk area. So there's like spilled concrete across the parking strip. The concrete pour is poured where it's not supposed to be, and it was never cleaned up. The second picture on that page is old sidewalk and footer that they chipped away, and instead of taking it away, they laid it on the plants in my flower beds, and it's still sitting there today. This is unnecessary. When are they going to clean it up? More concrete tripped up and placed on my landscaping plants. Why wasn't it loaded and removed immediately? There were safety cones and debris discarded all over my flower beds. And the first picture on page 8 is a huge pile of debris on the main sidewalk on Washington. That's directly in front of my house. The contractor removed a safety cone and left that pile of concrete debris there. The picture after that is pictures of the trash they left all over my landscaping and all over my neighbor's landscaping. The next picture has the picture of the black, I don't know what kind of material it is. It's the spongy material that goes between the sidewalk slabs. It's all over the place, all around our houses. The last picture is the main picture of Washington Avenue. Basically, this just demonstrates that the sidewalk was closed on both sides of the street for the last 2 weeks. When I last came to City Council, you told me Washington Avenue was one of the busiest streets in town, and that's why it's having its sidewalks done first. Why is the contractor allowed to shut down sidewalks on both sides of the street at the same time? If this is the busiest used, why are you stopping all of the pedestrian traffic at the same time? Why are they allowed to do this during the busiest time of the year, specifically trick-or-treating? In summary, the city of Greenville forced us to have this work done, and we are forced to pay for it. We are forced to have this work done now after the city has neglected the sidewalks and parking strips for 30 years. The city owes its residents due diligence. The city is a fiduciary and owes its residents the same care as if it were spending their own personal money. America's Decorative Concrete is not a contractor that is concerned with providing a quality product. They are not concerned with safety, cleanliness, or courtesy. These pictures speak for themselves. The city needs to make these things right. We need proper removal of the trees, stumps, and roots. We need safe work areas. We need restrictions on sidewalk work so that it cannot be done during trick-or-treating or during the fair or during First Fridays, etc. We need to be warned a reasonable amount of time in advance that work will be starting. We should be apprised of who and when the people will be working, and at all times should we be provided with an on-site supervisor phone number. If the city gives us information on how the work is going to proceed and which contractors will be doing the work, we'll have less questions when the work is actually happening. We need at least one side of the sidewalk open at all times. On busy streets with no passing zones, there should be flaggers for traffic if the lanes are being blocked. This happened multiple times during the sidewalk work. Also, the city should be supervising these contractors. I would be if I had hired them directly. These are the things reasonable people would want of a contractor working on their property. At this time, I have no idea if more work is going to happen or if anything is going to get cleaned up. Finally, there are excellent contractors. Outdoor Enterprises, the contractor that did our water line replacements, did exceptional work. My neighbors and I agree that they did clean, safe, courteous, and quality work. They had no problem giving me the supervisor number. They also were able to completely remove a tree, the stump, and all the roots in a quick and efficient manner. The last thing I wanted to ask about is what is the warranty on the sidewalk work? How many years do we get? And then what do we do if the sidewalk fails? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing this with us. Mr. Delk, can you kind of shed some light on?
So I wasn't aware of any of this. Actually, I talked to the owner of the company and he specifically mentioned her name, that she had offered to buy them lunch because she was happy with the finished product, so.
I wasn't that happy with this finished product. That was when they started pulling out my sidewalk, and I asked them if they could wait 5 minutes so I could move plants that I had just placed in there because I wasn't aware this work was happening. So I had placed about $1,000 worth of iris throughout those strips. And I basically stood in front of the excavator and said, please give me 5 minutes to move them. And my friend and I hustled and pulled out a whole bunch of plants. And then I offered to buy him lunch for
waiting.
for that, because he didn't have to do that, I understand.
Right. Okay.
But I am not, the work is not finished. I am absolutely not satisfied with it.
Okay. So I'll have to go with our inspectors and do with the contractor and get to the bottom of it.
Yep, and I think, look, at the end of the day, this is phase one, and I think Ryan and I have talked, and street superintendents talked a little bit about phase two and just different ways we can do it. I think if this was phase two, we'd probably, if we were doing your sidewalks next year, I think we probably would have done one side of the street and not both. And there's a lot of things, learning curves in this. But there's a lot of stuff in here that we need to take care of right away. So.
Yeah, thank you. My biggest hope is that we have 20 phases for the sidewalk work, and then
10.
it just, 10.
Yep.
But then it just gets better every
Yeah.
phase, hopefully. But
Right.
like I said, there are excellent contractors out there. And like I said, Outdoor Enterprises had no problems talking to all, they came into our houses and they were a very, very good contractor.
Yeah, so anything over 25,000, we have to bid it, and basically we take the lowest bid.
And it shows in their work.
And so the next year it'll get bid again. We can take that in consideration. I think we can deny a bid if that, is that correct?
We take the lowest and best bid. We
Yeah.
don't always just take the lowest bid.
Right. So, but I really appreciate your time putting this together.
Thank you.
And then Ryan, can you get,
Yep.
do a follow-up? So,
Thanks. And
yep.
if you need that or anything, you can contact me anytime. I can give you my contact information, and I'd be happy to share all these pictures. I have a bunch more pictures, but this was just examples of everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then your other two concerns, so raccoons.
Living in the storm sewers.
Yeah. Ryan, is there any, I know we've had skunk problems on the east side of town, but I've never heard of raccoons. I know I've trapped some groundhogs at a commercial property of mine. But I've never heard of a raccoon problem, so,
There's a way to do anything.
okay,
Enough money, enough time, we can do it.
okay.
Are we getting anywhere on the properties that she was
Yeah,
alluding to?
that was my next question.
So have you brought these up to planning and zoning?
I did talk to Dennis recently, and I told him that both of them are vacant, and if the city could please press them, right?
Yeah.
He said he's been getting responses from the 222 Washington that, no, it's not a good time, et cetera. Well, it's never a good time to take care of your house.
Right.
308 is the one that's in bank owned that went foreclosed, right?
No, 222,
222.
yeah.
So I think the last I was informed that that's going to go to a tax sale, that there's back taxes, so.
Yeah, and it's a huge house.
It
so
is.
it's not exactly a prime investor property because it's like almost 5,000 square feet.
Wow.
So it's going to be sitting probably for a while.
Yeah, someone with a big family.
So the 308 is the one next to you, correct?
Yes, the 222 is the one where people dropped off dogs and just, they abandoned them in that house. And I had to call the police and animal control to get them to rescue the dogs.
Okay.
So it's wide open. If the city could at least board it up or require the owners to board it up or something. Because there's windows open, there's doors open, and
So-
people can just walk in.
Are we able to do that?
Yeah.
If it's fully been abandoned, yes.
Okay, so we'll get that done.
Okay,
Or
great, thank you.
308, whenever she was up here the first time, I went by 308 and I also talked to her. She was out near flower beds and I was talking to her. And, you know, it hasn't changed. I know I've checked it again and it just hasn't changed any, and it's gotten worse. So I think we definitely need to grab a hold of something there.
It just depends if it's secure, like if windows are busted out or not. Like, we can't just go board up a house. If it's perfectly good, well, not even perfectly good, standing there, that has windows in it and not a place where we find egress and ingress. Like, the code reads that it has to be kind of open to the public for us to be able to board it up. So we can look at them and see where we're at with it.
308, there are owners that come. So I think the biggest issue with that is the debris in the yard and just the house deteriorating more and more over the last 2 years. And then they're adding to the debris. And I'm concerned about the tree in the backyard is half dead over my electric lines and over my property now. So they're not taking care of dead branches and things like that either.
So I think there's ordinances on both of those, so we can go after that if there's debris in the backyard, correct?
Debris, yes, the tree, it depends if it's in the right
Right.
way, but I can get with Dennis tomorrow. And see
Okay.
exactly where it
Yep.
stands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, anyone else?
Well, hello, City Council. I'm here on behalf of Main Street, Greenville, to discuss having food trucks at the 20th year celebration at the Hometown Holiday Horse Parade on Saturday, November 18th, starting at 3 p.m. until after the parade. We expect over 8,000 people to attend the festivities, and we simply cannot accommodate them with our current number of culinary brick and mortars downtown. In addition, I would like for approval for food trucks also during the eclipse weekend, which is the first weekend of April, Friday through the 7th on Sunday, as we plan to have a food truck rally downtown to draw people to downtown during the eclipse weekend. So, anybody have any questions?
Where would they be parked?
So for the horse parade, we talked about, is it 4th Street? But that may have to be moved. We kind of talked about the work that's being done at the courthouse, but I would like to contain them all together in one place except for the caramel corn vendors, because we have 3 of them and we usually put them several different places.
How many food trucks do you think may be attending?
There's 5 now. I think I invited 8.
Mhm.
I'm still waiting to hear back from 3, but most of them are local as well.
Are we hearing any feedback from the brick and mortar people?
No, so I feel like that's water under the bridge. We've had lots of conversations about the need for food trucks. And this summer, we also talked to them about having food tents outside during some of the events that aren't as well attended as the horse parade, and that went over really well. And then the Elks stepped in and they offered grilled hot dogs and hamburgers and different things that helped accommodate the people that were attending our First Fridays.
So currently, help me out, Mr. Law Director, currently, we have to have approval to do that?
That's correct. So we have an ordinance that prohibits food trucks in the right of way or on public streets. You can waive it if it's a nonprofit organization that's throwing an event. Obviously, Main Street Greenville falls into that category. And so you have the power to waive it, but that's what stops us from having food trucks just park on the side of the street every day of the week. We do have an ordinance that prohibits it. And so you would have to affirmatively grant them permission.
Council, what's your thoughts?
I would say as long as we don't have any complaints from the brick and mortar places, of taking their business.
The downtown restaurants
Right.
have an issue
Right.
with it, April.
So we have talked numerous times with the downtown merchants. I'm pretty sure that most of them are on board and okay with food trucks, especially with the amount of people. Yeah.
People,
Yeah.
right.
We would not necessarily have food trucks, on first Fridays that are,
Random, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm for that.
I think it's something that, we have to look at serving all the people, not just some of the people. And I understand if I had a business and there was a food truck parked right out in front of my restaurant, I wouldn't be very happy about it. But if they're bringing all these people into town for an event, there's more than enough goodness and graciousness to go around for everybody to increase their bottom line, which is the name of the game. But I also think it promotes our city as being pretty much open to innovation. We have to, we can't live in the past. We have to think forward. So as long as our brick and mortar people are willing to allow this to be to
Right,
happen,
as they're
I
approached first. right.
yeah, I think if they're if they're in favor of it, I see no reason not to do something like this. Because, and then when I think about the eclipse, all the people that's going to be, I'll just put a personal footnote in. I have family that's in South Carolina, and we're already planning to have a family reunion and because they travel to these events. So we're already planning to have a family reunion to tie in and just to enjoy. I want them to enjoy my city. We talk about some of the things that goes on in there. So I think we need to be more open about it.
And April, I appreciate your comment about local food trucks, so they're not coming from out of the county. It's a positive thing too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another thing that I would be concerned about maybe is having them all in one place. Is there going to be a problem with pedestrian type situation at that point? I know not all 8,000 people is going to go to that area, but that's going to be a lot of people going to one area.
Or there, the street would be blocked off, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And if you spread them out too much, because it's the horse parade, then you can get lines out into the street, and that can cause a whole nother situation. So in the past, we found it's best, like the car show, the Shriners always set up on 4th Street that's kind of the food area. It's away from all the other brick and mortars, so you have all those brick and mortar food places to go to around them, and then that's, if you want food, that's the spot you go to. It's not really a search out, walk around a lot.
And with that area, could you include the area where Youth for Christ had their event this fall? Because they were in that parking lot area behind the businesses, and there where the marketplace, the summer marketplace, could that area be opened as well?
So that,
Or is that,
behind it, yes, but it's a premium parking, and so a lot of people come, and parking is a premium for the horse parade.
I understand.
So you take one away, and then you create issues elsewhere, so.
Yeah, just curious. Thank you for answering. Appreciate that.
all right, so what I'm hearing is everyone's in favor as long as the downtown brick and mortars are good.
Right.
So do we need to get some type of a letter and have everyone sign off from brick and mortars?
Well, in theory, the person that you have here at making the request is
Okay.
Main Street Greenville, whose obligation it is to represent the downtown.
Okay, so you have a green light, it sounds like.
Okay, got it. I will tell you that we put out surveys recently to downtown businesses, and the majority of them would like to see food trucks in the future at our events, just because the foot traffic's been a little slow, and it just brings in a different type of clientele sometimes, and just creates more foot traffic. So I appreciate it. And then this also for the eclipse, so we can move forward with the eclipse planning as well.
Yep.
As far as I'm
Thank you.
Thanks, April.
Thanks, April.
Thanks, April.
All right, who's next for the public hearing?
Okay, I just have a few comments. First of all, I want to say I love the mural. I got to see that be unveiled. That was so cool to watch that be put up. I went to the Boy Scout Jamboree, and I talked to some of the leaders and some of the Boy Scouts. Over 200 Boy Scouts attended. The farthest one that came was from Cincinnati, And so I had a nice little conversation with them. They said the Boy Scouts are starting to dwindle down. The one in Ansonia is no longer having a paper drive because they only have one member. So now they've stopped collecting newspapers because I always gave to them. The sidewalk in the park, I've had several people mention to me they love it because they walked out there, and I did too, and that was very dangerous along that particular area with that guardrail. So I'm very excited to see the new sidewalk coming along. So now for the things that people asked me to bring up here. There's a new turn signal there on Ohio Street. I almost got hit because now if you're going from Ohio Street north to south, you have that left turn signal. And so right after it was put up, I was turning left.
Ohio Martin?
Ohio, yes,
Okay,
right.
okay.
And some young girl figured she could turn right on red, and I had the green, and so she almost hit me, but luckily I was able to stop in time. And in fact, in today's Dayton Daily News, they have said that Ohio is one of the states that is considering doing away with turning right on red. They said too many pedestrians are being hit, and so there's several states that is going to consider this, that turn right on red will not be permitted. Maybe in the future they have to vote on it. A friend of mine said they were a little bit confused about the turn right on green. Now, I'm not really certain what they meant by that, because I went out there and I saw the turn right on green, and you have a turn right on green at Broadway. So they thought it was a little confusing. Are people still going to go straight even though you have a turn right on green? I don't know, but I said I'd bring that concern. Another thing person brought up to me was, why is the comment online, because I have several people now watching this, why is it off? Because they want to leave comments and they can't. Is that going to be something that's going to be permanently off, or is there a reason why it's off? That is a concern I'm bringing from somebody. The other thing is, well, it's Omni. They just got finished with Avenue B, and it wasn't good. They dug up at least 3 places on my land. They threw straw down one place. They threw down grass seed, but no straw. They left trash. I mowed my yard the other day. They left binder twine, which got caught up in my mower, which I wasn't happy about. And that took a while to untangle. But my neighbors, I really felt sorry for them because I was watching their house, and they have an immaculate lawn. And they had dug on their land, and they took out what's called fill rocks. There was like maybe 6 or 8 they left piled there. And they said the reason why those rocks were in there was to keep it from flooding or sinking in. So they must have contacted them, because they came down later, about 3 or 4 days later. My neighbors still have their rocks, but they came down later and they put dirt in there, and they basically stomped on it and went on their way. So now my neighbors are concerned, will that be flooding in the future? And will it be sinking down? So why they didn't put the rocks back? Probably because they'd be on top of the cable or something, I don't know. But now, is that going to affect the look of their lawn? So who's going to be, and I even am worried about because I have a corner lot. And so I'm a little concerned, what's my land going to look like? Because I've already heard that maybe that corner where I live is where they're going to put the box. So will I have a sinking down thing? And when I went to the individuals and asked them about this, they're Hispanic, and none of them could understand me. And they said, you have to wait to talk to supervisor. Well, then I never could meet supervisor. And then, of course, the day after they got our street done, they went down and cut the gas line there in front of my friend's house, which she's not real happy about because she just got her lawn the way she wanted it. And then, poof, the gas line was cut. So I just want to know who's going to answer to problems down the road if there are problems. How do we handle that?
Yep, so just contact street department or
Planning and zoning.
planning zoning, and we'll get out there and we'll contact them. They'll come back and fix it, or we'll fix it.
Okay, so they still have their rocks. They kept them, but they think they don't want to put them in there because it's going to be on top of the cable, so I said, well, I was gonna bring a rock to show you, but it was heavy. That's all I have today. I'll take it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? You made my day on that rock. Thank you. Moving on to administration reports. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. We had just a few announcements. A couple from earlier, and they're coming up now closer. So, of course, I want to make sure everybody realizes Veterans Day is on November 11th, on the 11th hour. So that'll start at that time. It'll be a short parade, and it'll start also at 11. So there'll be church bells that'll ring, hopefully a courthouse bell, but don't know about that. So there'll be, as always, a gun valley, and we have a speaker coming, which is Dr. Dana, she's good pronounced, Street, which will be a guest speaker. She comes from the Columbus area, and she does a lot of work with women veterans. So if anybody knows anybody that'd like to talk to her, be it American Legion for the Bean Supper, which follows the parade, or really it starts about the same time. I think it starts earlier, about 11 o'clock also. So she'll be there afterwards to talk to like anybody that would want to know about like probably like conferencing, health-wise, and or benefits, I think so.
And what day is that again? I'm sorry.
It's on November 11th.
Saturday.
It was, it's Saturday coming up this year. I've talked to the veterans in the area, and they always say it's got to be on Veterans Day, no matter what day that is, 11/11. So, of course, the Chocolate Walk's coming up on the same day. That starts at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. $20 a ticket. I think there's tickets left. I'm not sure. Tickets left, so get them at the Welcome Center, at Beans, or I can't remember the other one. Yeah, Refined. Thank you. So you go to the Welcome Center to get your bag and a list of merchants that are going to be involved, and go out on your self-guided tour of the Chocolate Walk. Of course, the horse parade is on the 18th, and everybody pretty much knows about that. So it's going to be a big event. I think she's up maybe 60, 70 entries. So a lot of them come in at the last minute. So it's going to be a nice turnout. I know the street department's getting everything decorated, looking good, so it'll be a fun night. Santa Claus will be there. Mike Ryan's going to talk about Santa House. And then also the same day is Wayne Theater is going to open. So it's pretty cool. They're going to shut down the side street, and there'll be a lot of things that they're going to have for kids. To keep them entertained, and that'll be during the afternoon up until horse parade time. So, other than that, I'll pass.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
questions?
Oh, that's big news.
All right, moving on to Safety Service Director. We're going to talk about the Santa House.
Thank you, Mr. President. To follow up with the mayor, the horse parade, the Santa House. So if everyone recalls, last year, the mayor and I were at an event, and Christy Strauser, she's a great citizen of the community, came to the mayor about bringing Santa back, and the mayor said, well, if it's going to happen, you have to have Ryan do it, but he's really busy, so don't bother him with it. Well, here we are, year 2, and it's a great thing. And a lot of people have stepped up, the street department, in building the Santa House, and we've had a lot of local businesses give donations, lumber, doors, things to build the Santa House out, and that'll be displayed, once we open it. Main Street Greenville got involved. Christy Strauser is still involved, and she does all the Santa scheduling. So we've learned a lot about Santas and their protocol and their organizations that they belong to. So it's a lot of fun. It's magical. I guess is the word.
Santa.
No, that's the thing. They clone them.
Let's keep that out of
Yeah. It's magical. That's all I can say. I really messed that up. I have older children, so didn't forget about that. I apologize. Right. So November, last weekend in November through Christmas Eve, it'll be open Thursdays and Fridays 6 to 8, Saturdays 11 to 2, and Sundays 12 to 2 will be the Santa house. So we would like everyone to come up and enjoy our downtown and all the Christmas lights. And
And the Santa house is located at,
Rotary Park and is currently there.
Yep.
We're working on hooking it all up. So it turned out, I'm very happy with everything, the way it all turned out. So it's exciting for downtown. We appreciate Matt and street department people, and we have to give Rob a shout out because he's Mr. Christmas. Everybody knows. And April from Main Street and Christy Strouser. I think it's a very good, the citizens coming together and making something happen is what I really like best about it. It's like the mayor said in Wayne Theater. I mean, I think that's really exciting for our downtown. Just very positive things going
The
on
horse
there.
parade, I think Diana Stebbins also in the horse parade. She's done it the last 12 years. A nice place, parade.
Okay, next, a shout out to our police department. So we talk all the time about our departments working together, and then when you go to your police and your fire department and even other departments, other municipalities kind of working together. So our police department over the weekend worked with Union City Police and the Dark County Sheriffs and had 2 major drug busts, one in Union City and one in the county. And it was a collaborative effort and took a lot of drugs and some bad people off the street. And that's always a positive for our whole community. And then the second thing that they were able to accomplish last week was they were able to get a conviction on a rapist that received 15 years. So we get him off the streets for 15 years, and that's a very good thing. And with that, I will answer any questions anyone has, but I will pass.
Christmas, you guys mentioned the Christmas tree lighting. That's Saturday night too, right?
Yep.
Right at the end of the parade.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree lighting, right. Everybody's interested, the 13th when the tree comes in, which is Monday morning. So that's kind of a nice event.
Pretty interesting.
Show up for that. That'll be fun.
and thanks to all the people that, I know, like Jay Crane donates their time to set the tree, and
Huge deal. for the people.
there's always someone willing to step up. So, yep.
Yeah, thanks. It's a huge deal for all the people involved that do that. They do other communities also. So it's a commitment to have that much, just like the mural. There was, guys, I don't know, Fitzwater's had 2 or 3 guys in boom trucks, and we helped out. Rob was up there helping, and I'm trying to think who else the other were. Oh, yeah, and Winter donated time putting it up. So it is incredible that the amount of support that we get for things downtown. And I'll get a list of those that help set the tree up. So next council meeting, I'll have that list of people, make sure we let everybody know who they are.
What time does that when they bring the tree in? Do you have a guesstimate? I know it's,
Yeah, they want to get started probably like 9, something like that, and then it'll go on for a couple hours, and then, of course, they decorate it pretty much right away, don't they?
Yep.
So it'll go on, but it'll be a nice tree. It comes, trying to think, where is it coming from? That one? There's 2 of them, I can't remember. I think it's coming from down there, the old DPNL, yes. Yeah. There's Oh, dark rural electric, yeah. So there's another one that's come somewhere else, but.
The other one, yeah, I don't know where else. The other one's one in Madison.
Yeah. Anyway, it's great to have these people who are looking, maybe it's not so much getting rid of a tree because they're still nice trees, so, but they're huge and overgrown to some respect for a lot of properties, so it's good to thin them out probably, so. All right, thanks.
All right, anything else for Mr. Delk?
Yeah.
Service Director?
Does they have an update on the main water line coming into Greenville? They on schedule, behind schedule?
Behind schedule. I honestly, I would love to answer that, but it has been problem after problem. First problem we ran into was there was an old 502 buried about 3 foot underneath the current road. So they're dealing with a lot of concrete. And then the creek crossing that was scheduled for 3 days took about 7 days. The boring under the railroad ended up running into a bunch of fill rocks, and the boring took twice as long as we thought it would take. So we've ran into a lot of snags along the way that were unexpected. So I would say right now we're probably 3 to 4 weeks behind schedule.
Are they coming down Main Street on that when they go up the Vine?
So they'll go up to Vine, and then it turns and goes down Main Street and comes basically to Sycamore, and then goes to Chestnut the other way, and then cuts across Vine to 4th Street.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to Law Director, Mr. Reaman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just as you had mentioned earlier, a need for an executive session for personnel, and so we'll talk a little bit then. But other than that, I'll answer any questions anybody has.
All right, move on to City Auditor, Ms. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I shall pass for this evening.
Okay,
May I ask a question, sir?
sure.
Okay, I know that you're working diligently on the 2024 budget. Okay. I would like to inquire as on the 2024 budget, are we exploring the possibility of a code enforcement officer? I know it works out of planning, and I know we work with the police department, but you know, when you look around our community, and then tonight we got this presentation, I would be in favor of us investigating that a little more. So I don't know if you can wave your magic wand over the budget or pull some from somewhere, but I really do think that we need to zero in, because when you drive around town, and I often do, there are a lot of properties that just need to be addressed, whether we address it with, I'm sorry, I'll cut it off in a minute. I really think that we need to seriously consider doing something and getting it as part of the budget. We got to begin somewhere. So 2024 is as good as any to me, but thank you for listening, and I appreciate it.
We have set aside money in planning and zoning for a part-time person who I believe, Brian, you correct me if I'm wrong, that was what they're going to be dealing with, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'll look forward to seeing that line
Yeah,
item.
I'll give you a butt though. I'm sorry, I have to.
I don't like your butts.
I'm sorry. Like, if you want to, from the sounds of it, the level that council or you or I'll just speak to you about it.
Yeah.
That you want it, like, you're talking like a full-time employee, at least one. You're talking a vehicle. I don't know. You can ask the law director. You might be talking a separate assistant law director. There's a lot of parts and pieces, and there's a lot of areas in the code to get these things off the ground and then get through the process and follow-ups and then take them to court. And then you're also going to have most likely be the street department for the cleanup portion too. It'll just take a lot more than one part-time person, and it'll take the right person.
Okay, so I'm just gonna interject in here.
Okay, absolutely.
You have to start somewhere.
No, I agree.
And I'm gonna say, we need to start sooner rather than later, and we need to start, because there are beaucoup properties, and I'm not picking on anyone. I just want to see some action.
And I think the concern on this side is that it's one thing to identify the problem, which is what, the zoning enforcement officer can do. And it's a whole nother thing to allocate the resources to fix the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've heard a lot about allocating resources to identify the problems, but the reality is there's a lot of homeowners when you say, hey, this barn or this dilapidated property needs to be taken down. Well, we have to have the resources to actually take it down. And it's the homeowner's obligation to do that, and that's correct. But just like sidewalks, it's the homeowner's obligation to maintain their sidewalks. But ultimately, the city's got to front the money and attempt to get it back. And so if we don't have an account item, to front the money, then we're identifying problems that there's no solutions to. And so and I think that's what Mr. Delk was trying to get at, is that if we allocate money, so there's money allocated in the budget for a part-time zoning inspector, what there's not money allocated for currently is a slush fund to fix the problems, which is going to be another $30,000 for that. And so you're correct, we have to start somewhere. And so putting the money in the budget for a part-time person is a start, but we also want to have, as part of it from down here and living it every day, is realistic expectations of, we can't just identify problems, we have to fix problems.
And that's where I'm saying we have to start someplace, but I'm also thinking that, property owners need to be held accountable. And I think that sometimes we go, well, he's such a good guy, he does all this stuff, but he's still a property owner. I mean, I can tell you, I'll use myself as an example because I know me better than anybody else, okay? So several years ago, and it's been 20 years ago, I'll say, my husband was quite ill, okay? And my property, my grass, didn't get taken care of because I had bigger priorities, which was keeping my husband alive. So I got a letter from this safety service, whatever it was then. It wasn't the title you have. Wasn't you? No, wasn't you. But anyway, the point of the matter is that the problem was identified to me. Now, I'm going to tell you that besides being a scary old lady, I'm also a princess. My dad never made me mow the yard, so I don't even know what end of the lawnmower you use, okay? I might have to learn that. But, he was holding me accountable. Did I get kind of irritated at first? I did. But then when I realized, well, yeah, that is kind of a crappy looking backyard you got going there, chick. So we took care of it. But I'm thinking we need to identify problems, get on property owners. And I don't mean just walk up to the door and say, this is what's going to happen if you don't do this. And then if it's assigned tasks, then get it done. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I think we're heading in the right direction.
I would agree.
It's a big apple. We got to take a bite at a time.
To clarify, and I don't want the perception to be that nothing is happening, letters go out from our planning and zoning department all the time. And so people are being made aware of issues with it. The part that becomes difficult is from that point on, are we going to allocate funds and resources that if they don't voluntarily comply, are we going to have the funds to push the issue further and remediate the nuisance if there is one ourselves? And that's where, so far, we started with a program that we really didn't have anything when I started. We went through a program to start identifying citywide where the problems are. And now we kind of have a scale of these are the ones. Everybody's getting a letter if they're in violation, but prioritizing, because one of the issues we ran into previously was that we were picking on certain people over others. And so the program's been developing in itself. And I do think there are next steps that need to happen, but ultimately, unfortunately, these things aren't free, and it's going to be a budgetary concerns of do we want a zoning enforcing officer or do we want to pave another street? Like, those are some of the decisions that you as city council have to make, and that's why I'm happy I'm down here and not in your seat. And so, let us know what those priorities are, but we don't work with a budget that's unlimited and decisions have to be made. We deal with employees and wages and inflation and rising healthcare costs, like all of those things go into it. And so they're not easy decisions. If we had unlimited funds, we'd take care of it all tomorrow.
That would be nice, but we all know that. And I did not mean to infer that anybody was not doing anything, because I know you have, because I've sent several emails myself, and every time I send an email, I get a response. So might not like it, but I get a response. So thank you.
And I don't know whether anything's been done with 308 Washington, but I know it's been like that for quite some time and getting worse. So I think we definitely need to get on to that real quick.
Okay, let's move on. Committee reports. We have none, correct? Ordinances and resolutions. We have 3. First, we have a supplemental ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. The supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the general fund, waterworks system revenue fund, sewage disposal fund, and stormwater utility fund in the sum as follows. Utilities municipal building in the amount of $13,645.15. Utilities waterworks system revenue in the amount of $2,240.25. Utilities sewage disposal in the amount of $2,240.25. And utilities stormwater utility operating in the amount of $2,240.25. These funds are needed for the Microsoft 365 software update. New light pole street utilities in the amount of $24,506.08. These funds are needed to replace 3 streetlights damaged in the downtown area.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? I do have one question on that, right? Those light poles are being reimbursed because they were
So they'll be
constructed.
bought and purchased and then, yeah, billed to whoever damaged them or their insurance.
Any other discussion?
Expensive light pole.
Yeah, they are. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Okay, next we have a transfer ordinance.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. This transfer ordinance allows for the transfer of funds in the general fund in the sum as follows. $5,000 from Travel and Education Fire Department to Equipment Maintenance Fire Department. This transfer is needed to cover any unforeseen repairs through December 31st, 2023. $100,000 from Income Tax Rebates, Whirlpool, Income Tax to Refunds, Income Tax. This transfer is needed to cover refunds through December 31st, 2023.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt this ordinance. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Okay, and last, we have a resolution entering the contract with Choice One for Schweitzer Street reconstruction.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One Engineering for professional services related to Schweitzer Street reconstruction. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One Engineering for the rendering of professional services related to the Schweitzer Street reconstruction.
Move to suspend the rules on this resolution, give it second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One Engineering for professional services related to Schweitzer Street reconstruction. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One Engineering for professional services related to Schweitzer Street reconstruction.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Godwin to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. We have nothing under new business. Under old business, we have a tabled zoning amendment. Anybody want to do anything with that?
Yeah, I'd like to move to take this off the table for a vote.
Okay. This tabled amendment recommendation to be untabled. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Just untable it.
Yes, untable it.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
All right, so it's untabled, so I will entertain a motion to accept it or deny it.
We have discussion first.
After, or you'll have this, it doesn't really matter. Go ahead, discuss it.
All right, I brought this up probably 3 months ago, and Ryan barely answered the question of why do they put the ad in the paper every week or every month? Because they got a 2-year waiting list, and I had kind of chuckles from people saying, you know, why do they put the ad in the paper? And I said, well, I will find out. So I went out and talked to Scott out there, and he said, according to the government, they have to put the ad in the paper, even though they have a 2-year waiting list to get in. And they have to do it to accept applications. They don't have apartments open. Then today I was talking to a lady and a gentleman, they were going to sell their house. They've been wanting to try to sell their house to move into Fox Run. And it's been over a year. They've been trying to get in out there. And as soon as they say that, yeah, we got an opening out here for you, they're going to put a for sale sign in their front yard and sell it and then move out there. But they can't, they can't sell it until they have a place to go to.
Any other discussion?
So I had a few things. One of the concerns I know we had spoke about was people had expressed concern of low income housing, and they had a concern that this was going to be a low income housing, and what would that bring to the city? I don't know about anybody else's definition of low income, but I talked to someone from the group today, and the proposed this last year, they had two basically income levels that they would rent to. One was 50% of the median income of the county. One was 60% of the median income. You had to fall into those guidelines in order to get approved for this. If you were at 60% of the median income for the county, your rent would be $793 plus $117 for utilities. To me, that equals $910, which, I mean, there's apartments that are much cheaper than that around town. If you were at 50% rent, or 50% of the median income, it was $683 plus the $117 for utilities, which brings your rent to $800. So certainly I don't think that classifies as low income at all. I mean, they have to have some sort of income that's in order to be living there. One of the things that I've learned, and I either missed it last time or they didn't say it, but all the water and trash is paid for by Frontier, which I thought was a positive that we knew we would get our money at least. One of the things that they had mentioned was the community room that they have. I know Fox Run has one. I'm not 100% sure on their usage of it, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And in talking to someone else, they had mentioned there's one out at the Brethren community as well. Again, I'm not sure how much that is actually used. The Frontier, at their other places, their community room is run. They have a calendar of events, and they encourage all the seniors of the community to come out and partake, not just the ones that live in that area or live in the project there. They help with multiple just different events throughout the community. She said they help significantly with some of the DD in the area. And one of the projects that they had done was they even delivered groceries to the seniors around the community. So I thought that was good. They partner with Community Action and multiple other projects that they do. Again, I visited this place. It was clean. Looks just like Fox Run. And so, like, from that, I don't think it's a concern. I asked if they were subsidized in any way, because I knew we were worried about subsidized housing. And so the reason that they want this land is because it only there's a certain lot, and I talked to the mayor about it, and there's a certain amount of land from basically there all the way over to, I think it was 49, that applies for this YTEC credit or whatever it is. And so that's where their funding comes in, and that's where they make money. And so on the 60% median rental, which was 27 of the 42 apartments, they got a credit of $92 per unit per month. And on the 50%, which was 15 units, they got a credit of $35 per unit per month. And so, but there's not, like, as far as government entities sending them money, or, you know, someone paying $400 and then getting a cash coupon for another $400. There's none of that. And so, because I was, you know, again, intrigued. I know part of the issue is that their whatever qualification period or whatever the timing of this last project expired about a week ago. And so going forward, they would have to submit a new plan for funding from the state or from whoever the entity is that funds them. So just as an FYI, if they did that, basically it would take all of 2024 and they wouldn't break ground until May or June of 2025. If it's not approved at some point, they will not move forward with another proposal. It's too costly, it's too time invested, like there's just too much going on. One of the problems was we were worried about if they would sell it. Like if they build it, sell it in 2 years, what happens? Well, there's a deed restriction that's going to be placed on it for 30 years. They have, in order to get this credit, they have to sign a 30-year deal that they do this. You know, according to them, they don't, you know, they don't build and they don't sell. I mean, they still own a lot of their, or all of their projects. So I, you know, I would believe that, but who knows, you know, obviously you can't foresee 30 years from now. Again, one of the things, you know, and I have said this before, if you can't, you know, if you can't move into town and know that you have someplace to go when you're a senior and you don't want to deal with anything anymore, again, some people will live in their house forever, and they'll be, if I may quote Dolores, they'll be carried out feet first.
Right.
You know, but not everybody wants to do that. And again, to, you know, Mr. Godwin's point, like there is an obvious waiting period to get into these. There's an obvious need. I think it hits a lot of, you know, a lot of the issues. One of the concerns I know as well is the location. Previously, the city had promised that it would be light industrial. Well, we kind of went back on that a couple times and allowed a nursing home out there and have allowed Fox Run to be out there. And, you know, I can't help but quote what I just heard a little bit ago. And you can't live in the past, you got to think forward. And so the last 25 years, we haven't had anything out there. Why not think forward and see if we can put something out there? So with that, I make a motion that we accept planning and zoning.
Any other discussion?
This would only be then 55 and over?
Correct. It is senior only. They are not allowed to have others live out there.
So, Mr. Law Director, does it even matter if this votes yes or no because it's already past the time for this project?
Your project isn't,
No, it matters. It's changing, you're changing the zoning.
it's the zoning that
Okay.
you're
And
out.
so while it may not be feasible, you've changed the zoning for this. And so for future products, they would still need to come and get approval of the future projects, but the zoning for this now is acceptable to this.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So who else could qualify for, like if we change the zoning, what other uses of that property could be brought before council besides housing?
So it would be, I think this was to change it to planned unit. And so under a planned unit, they essentially bring a comprehensive plan for that area that planning and zoning would have to approve. And so it's a mix of residential, commercial. It could be a mix of residential, commercial. Essentially, a planned unit zoning just means that essentially the rules that we have for individual zoning districts don't necessarily apply. We're allowing you to bring us a comprehensive plan, and as long as that plan fits what planning and zoning agrees with, then it goes forward.
So if we let it just stay as general business, it's, I mean, so then we could go back to what we have asked for before, making it available to light industrial, right? Is that correct? Was that my understanding? And it could stay light industrial as it is right now?
So it would stay, if you vote it down, and it would take 75% of you to vote it down, then the zoning would stay the same as general business. not light industrial, general business, but under general business, there's some other uses that are allowed in a general business district.
Well, my thoughts on it is the fact that Dark County is an aging population. We need some older housing for people. I'm getting there. I may want to move into it. So, I think I've changed my mind. I voted no on it before, but I think, we need to, do something with this and try to develop that to where we've got some place for aging people to go.
I got, for the last 20 years, I've been taking care of a place on the north end of town. It's called Berkshire Terrace. And it was built as a retirement community. And there's 24 condos up there. And within the 20 years that I've been mowing this place, they don't even hardly get a realtor signed out in front of the place and it's sold. And they were selling for like 98,000. Now they're selling for like 180,000. And it's getting, part of the association fees is they got to pay $50 a month. And that takes care of the lawns, that takes care of the snow removal, the common areas, which is the mailboxes up there. And, it's a nice place and well-maintained, and they care about the community up there. And, I feel that this place out there that they want to build would be kind of a mirror of that place. The people won't own it, they'll rent it, but they don't want to, the people that move up there don't want to take care of the flower beds. They don't want to mow the grass. They don't want to remove the snow. They just want to have a place to live and not have to worry about stuff like that no more. Worry about the roof.
Any other discussion?
My concern is we've got a comprehensive plan and to take general business and change the zoning for housing. Aren't there other places to put housing other than what's already zoned for general business? So, the business people there have legitimate concerns as well. And quite frankly, I've lived in other parts of the country where I've seen low-income housing put in, and within 10 years, it's not necessarily as nice as it was when it was built. And a lot of it has to do with the care that is given it to the people that are renting, and not to say that the people that are building these projects won't take care of it, but I've seen many instances where they haven't. And I've got no reason to think that that couldn't be a possibility, and to rezone it from general business is going against the agreements we made with people that put businesses in those areas, like, for instance, Ohio Signs.
So I think when you look at, again, where else you could put it, the problem is for this specific credit, like they're stuck. There just is no other space. And that's one of the issues. And again, I just don't agree with the label at low-income housing. At $800 a month, that is not low-income housing.
I think my big concern on this is if you look at the population of Dark County, it's shrunk. So what we're going to do is we're going to build, 50-some units or 70-some units, and we're going to empty out the older part of Greenville, and we're going to move those there. And it's going to make those older sections, those older houses or older rentals even harder to rent. So you're going to attract maybe people that you don't want to rent to. As a landlord, that's my concern. It's always been my concern. If the population was growing, that'd be one thing, but the population in Dark County shrunk, I think 1% last year.
So you move the seniors out, you give opportunity for people from outside to move in. They move in, they build a family, then they buy the workforce housing that we've wanted to build that no one's building.
Yep, in a perfect world, that would make sense. Yep.
And I have rentals here in town and I get phone calls all the time, people wanting to rent. And I see stuff on Facebook that somebody's wanting $900 a month for a 2-bedroom house. And it's like, that's nuts. For a house here in Greenville, my opinion.
Any other discussion?
I still think that leaving it as the saying goes, I read it now, the general business, because, what is what is the responsibility to the people that did invest in putting their business out there? I don't know about you, but when you look on the TV about, here's a small general business group of people, you don't see many housing units next to them. I think, we need to work on, and we've talked about it before, bringing businesses into our town. We need to focus on that too. I understand there's a priority, but I'm still thinking that we do owe those people who invested in the community in the general business arena, that they be watched over too. That's all I have.
The only thing that I can see there is how long has that land been vacant that new businesses contacted us or anybody to build there?
Well, maybe we need to be talking to economic development and see what they're looking at.
Any other discussion? Call the roll. And this is,
Clarify the question.
yep,
Yeah, please do.
yep. So
The motion was to accept the recommendation.
yep, the motion is to accept a recommendation from planning and zoning to change this, to rezone this from general business to planned unit development. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
No.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
No.
Whitaker,
No.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
No.
All right, so that motion passes because it would have it needed 75% or more. So the zoning amendment recommendation is,
Does not pass.
or does not pass, but, so it's
Same spot we've always been.
We're in the same stalemate. Okay.
same stalemate. Okay.
All right, so can I ask the law director a question?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. According to Robert's Rules of Order,
Robert's rules are a default when there's not a specific rule, and our planning and zoning code specifically states that you need 50% to accept and 75%. And so, while I agree with you that Robert's rule says that if something is tabled, it goes away.
Yeah.
Because we have something on point that speaks specifically to what we must do. We are in this beautiful, beautiful place where we.
so we're just gonna get to see this hanging around here until somebody,
Much like they.
changes their resolve.
Acre of the house until they get enough votes around the state.
Okay. So what you're telling, when I'm hearing you say that Robert's Rules of Order do not apply because of the definition of zoning and planning.
Because we have a specific thing that addresses what it takes to pass or fail this.
Okay.
Robert's rules fall as a general rule that if there's not something that speaks specifically to it, you follow them.
That's a guideline, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so can I have, can you send me where I can find that in the ordinances?
From the planning and zoning code, absolutely.
Okay, just send me a little blurb. Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, moving on. So next week, or next meeting, we can either table it again or vote again, correct? All right. Moving on, so we have representation from council representing Dark County Visitors Bureau, which is Mr. Whitaker, right?
Nope. No.
Nope, Mr. Brown.
Yep. So a couple weeks ago, we had the opportunity, they took us around to a couple businesses in the county to showcase some of that. That was really the main highlight. I think April was there as well, and got to see, went out to Broomballs, went over to the winery, what was it, A&R Winery? A&R Winery, and then over to the Bradford Railroad Museum. And so that was rather interesting. I had never been there in all my years in Dark County. So currently they are, I believe, trying to figure out what officers look like for next year. And other than that,
Okay.
not much going on.
Okay. Communications.
We received the monthly report of September from the Transit Department and the monthly reports of October from the Income Tax and Street Department.
Okay, call of council.
Godwin?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for coming up tonight and hope people went out and voted. And with that, I'll pass.
Norris?
Yep, thanks for all those who attended and had a voice tonight. I would like to say best wishes to Aaron McKees and also congratulations to Katie Benji for the Transportation Department.
Rogers?
That I'll pass.
Rogers?
Yes, hopefully everybody was able to get out and vote today, or early voting or whatever, and hopefully your votes counted to the way you would like to see the votes go. So anyway, with that, I'll pass.
Schmidt?
Pass.
Whitaker?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone who came up to council tonight and expressed their concerns, particularly the young lady over there, whose name escapes me right now, but very nicely done. You put it all together, and to me, there's no excuse for any of that. And I like to see everything taken care of with all those concerns. Regarding people that own these abandoned properties, they've got to do better. They've got to do better with these deteriorating houses and with all the debris that's around. My question is, what gives these people that own these properties that are neglecting them the right to reduce the property values of those around them? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And we have to ask ourselves, are we going to live in a community that wants declining property values? Or do we want to live in a community that is improving itself and wants to attract people to move to Greenville and have a future and have rising property values? I mean, I didn't move to Greenville for that, for our declining property values. And I think everybody that is hardworking, tax-paying citizens deserve to live in a clean, safe community. And everybody that needs to be working on their properties, they're all going to be treated the same. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how many properties you own, or how grandfathered you think you are with all this. We got to fix this problem. So with that, I pass.
Brown?
Pass.
Ely?
I would just like to, again, thank everybody for coming. Thank you for your indulgence in my little pet peeves and all that stuff. I appreciate that. And I also think that we do live in a really great community, but we've just got to get on top of it and clean it up and keep it up. So with that, I pass.
President Baumgartner?
Yep, so I always like talking about the good things. Wayne Theater, what an awesome to have that back open. It's been closed for probably, I'd say 10, 15 years, if not longer. The mural downtown, I think, is probably one of the coolest things that's been done downtown in a long, long time. So that's really cool. I know there are several other smaller ones on the way too. Look forward to that. And then don't forget November 11th, Veterans Day. And with that, I will entertain a motion to rise to executive session. Call the roll.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Okay, clear this.